You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. All right, folks, in North Carolina, attorneys for the family of Andrew Brown Jr. have filed a $30 million federal lawsuit against the officers who shot and killed him. The sheriff of Pasquotank and Dare County are among the defendants listed, claiming sheriff's deputies intentionally and recklessly killed Brown during a 44-second interaction on April 21st. Since the DA, Andrew Womble, declined to file criminal charges against the deputies in the case, Brown supporters believe the civil case is the only avenue remaining to get justice for the killing of Brown. In the news conference today, attorney Harry Daniels explains why filing this lawsuit was a no-brainer.
This lawsuit was easy to draft because the facts in this case is very easy that anybody can see. This is an unlawful killing, a murder of Andrew Brown. The district attorney stood before you guys in sometime in May and talked about that he utilized the law to make his decision. Well, he somehow missed the law of North Carolina.
Talk about it. That's right.
He somehow missed the law in the Fourth Circuit that covers the state of North Carolina that is abundantly clear and have been established in 2005 that you cannot shoot a person who is driving away from you.
That's right. That's right.
In fact, if you look at the case law that has been cited inside our brief, that case, the Strickland case, that individual admitted that he tried to hit the officers. But once he left, fleeing away, they had no authority to shoot him. That's exactly what happened to Andrew Brown. That's exactly what happened. We're brought claims on the United States Constitution, the Fourth Amendment, the unlawful seizure of his person, of his body. Intentional wrongful death. And I mean intentional wrongful death. Because those officers intended to fire those weapons and do harm to Andrew Brown. Negligence. We also brought claims under assault and battery. But one claim that we brought under federal law is that the customs, the policies of Pasquotank County Sheriff's Office,
That's right.
the customs and the policies of Dare County Sheriff's Office enabled these officers to go to Andrew Brown House on April 21st, 2020 to execute him. No checks and balances. So we're not just here to file a lawsuit on the behalf of the Brown family. We filed a lawsuit for anybody who have suffered injustice on behalf of this sheriff's office, this administration, Dare County, and all. The lawsuit is seeking $30 million. Somebody asked me, why so much? Well, why is Andrew Brown dead today? Answer that question with that question.
Two deputies involved in the shooting have returned to work for the Pasquotank County Sheriff's Office. One other deputy involved resigned from the force. Scott, your thoughts about this federal lawsuit?
Well, it's expected. You know, we often talk about criminal justice versus civil justice. Neither one will bring the victim back. But civil justice is a lot more accessible for the victims and their families and their lawyers simply because they get discovery, they get depositions, they get questions, interrogatories, and documents to lay out not only custom and practice of the police department, but what actually really happened. I actually think this is going to be a tough case because while there was a vehicle involved, there's a factual dispute as to whether that car touched these officers or not, or whether the driver's intent, who is the deceased and who is the essentially the plaintiff, or as the state is the plaintiff, whether he intended to get away from the police or he intended to harm them. That blocked the criminal justice, them from being charged. But the civil justice piece will certainly be in play. They've got to prove custom and usage. But the other thing is the standard to proof is much lower. It's not beyond a reasonable doubt. It's by preponderance of the evidence. And so whoever puts the most evidence in, the most credible evidence, the jury will most likely believe them. Got to get past the motion for summary judgment, though. And judges in the Fourth Circuit, judges in the federal district court in the Fourth Circuit, it's a toss-up.
Robert?
Well, I piggyback on what Scott says. This is of course, not going to bring back the decedent, but it is the best that our system can do. And then often, sometimes evidence will come to light during the discovery process in a civil case, which can be brought to prosecutors, which can result later in charging, or if the information was not presented in the first place, that information can later result in charges sometimes, depending on what is seen during the course of the discovery process. Of course, they should not give up on the criminal proceedings. There's always a Justice Department review of the local decisions. The state attorney general, as we saw in the Ahmaud Arbery case, can step in to file charges. So I would not set these things aside. One thing I think the public needs to understand is just because the family accepts a settlement does not mean that they've been quote unquote paid off and that the case is over. I've heard that so many times. That's not what happens. The family still needs to be made whole. This individual's life had to matter, had to have value, and because of that, you have the civil process. More than likely, this case will end up settling before going to trial. But don't think that the family simply takes the money and runs because there's a settlement in the case. They still grieve. They still lost a loved one, and this is just the least that the system can do in order to try to make them whole for their loss.
Folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment.
Racial injustice is a scourge on this nation, and the Black community has felt it for generations. We have an obligation to do something about it. Whether it's canceling student debt, increasing the minimum wage, or investing in Black-owned businesses, the Black community deserves so much better. I'm Nina Turner, and I'm running for Congress to do something about it.